In this video, I'm going to give 2 new methods to use manifestation scripting to manifest what you want to see in the world. So you probably know that manifestation scripting is where you write down your desires, often in the form of a letter, which is expressing gratitude for what you want to happen as though it's happened. And I've done this all of my life. When I first got into this kind of thing, maybe 30 years ago, because I'm pretty old now, okay, they state the first thing you do to manifest anything is to know what you want and to state it. But I've been doing that for 3 decades, and I've developed a couple of systems which are a bit more advanced, and I'm going to explain them now, because people often say that. I see the question, how often should you manifestation script? And it's this idea, the more you do it, the better. But of course, if you're doing it 2 or 3 times a day, it's going to get very boring very quickly, and that will do you no good whatsoever. Because any method of manifestation is to keep you in the state of the wish fulfilled, feeling as though it's already happened, in a state of gratitude. And if you're absolutely bored just doing some method, you've got to do your scripting now, and it's like a chore. That's going to do you no good whatsoever. But with my method, you're extracting a glyph and a number for a script over a moon cycle. That sounds like, I'm going to just explain it by giving you an example. And it includes a night practice that you do on falling asleep, and then a day practice. And it's not a chore or boring, okay? Now, I link this to moon cycles, so it's every 2 weeks to actually write out a full script. That's about right. It's not so infrequent that your intentions aren't clear, but it's not so often it becomes completely boring. So this is to be used in conjunction with another video I'm going to make about goal setting, because you need to look at all the things you want in life and kind of group those desires into categories, and there's a deeper kind of theme to them. So those themes are unchanging, because over the course of a lifetime, then you've got these set, unchanging themes. And maybe one of them is abundance, and at one point you might need a car for some reason. But the wish to always be abundant doesn't change. There's never a time you don't want to be abundant financially. So you always have the same underlying theme. So you're not using the manifestation process as just like being a kid in a toy shop and you want this and you want that, and it's based on materialism, but it's based on much deeper things, which are then also based on giving or belonging to a community. Or when you really look at what you want in life, it's not materialism. It can actually be based on minimalism, which can be a lot better. So I do a full script every new moon and every full moon. And then I find a way to capture the spirit of what I've written down. Although it's fairly unchanged and the themes don't change, the details might, but these themes that I have are unchanging over my life. Like I've always wanted to have that abundance, and as you do, so that doesn't change. But every 2 weeks then, I don't write it word for word. I just write down, so it's slightly different every 2 weeks. And of course, because it's slightly different, I can capture the essence in a glyph. And when I think or use that glyph, it expresses my intention, but it only takes a moment. So it's like you could do it 3 or 4 times a day in a way that's not absolutely demoralizing and boring, but it's on an unconscious level. You're constantly expressing the intention of what you want. So let's just get right into it, okay? And I'll explain how you start. So on a new moon, then just do the thing as usual. Now, I've made an example here based on my life in Phnom Penh, based on minimalism. I don't want a really nice house and a car. I like to be simple. I like to travel light, not have many possessions. I like to base my life on experience. I've got enough cash. I just don't want to own stuff. I can carry everything that I own, and I like to move around a bit. Although I do like to find good accommodation because I'm a bit of a light sleeper, so I want that. I've also got a loan that's kind of hanging over me a bit. I want that to be paid off. I've got the cash, but I want like a bit extra, so I don't pay it off. It's a student loan, but I want a separate investment that I can keep so that I can cover it if I need to. Anyway, so I always start mine with Dear You, meaning universe for me, but you can address this to whoever you want. I mean, there's a lot of instruction, because to start with is just a standard manifestation letter, manifestation script. So just do that. Now, I'll give you one tip. It's a gratitude letter for all the things you're grateful for. Now, some of those things are in your mind. They're things that you want in the future, and you've got to feel that you have it now, and you've got to feel that gratitude. But don't forget the things that you already have that you can see with your senses, with your physical eyes, not just your mental eyes, the things that you already have. So you need to mix that up. Be grateful for what you can see and you have, and for what you want, because it's all the same thing. The difference is time, and magic in a way is time traveling. You're going to make that now. You've got to feel now the way that you want to, because you can feel anyway in any moment. So you write it down with gratitude because it's all inside. So there's your standard script on the new moon. So what are you going to do with that? So I made an example out there and everything. So the first thing you do is you look at the O's or the zeros. Okay, go over them with a pen. Write them so they're much heavier so you can easily see them. Do that and then count them. So what you've got now is a number. So in this example, my number is 39 for this script. Okay, so now you just reduce that number using numerology. So 39 is a 3 and a 9. So add 3 and 9 is 12. And then 12 is 1 and 2. So you add 1 and 2 to 3. So that boils down the essence of that script. Now, I'll tell you what it makes me think of. It makes me think of horary astrology. I don't know if you believe in that, but let me just explain it. That you can ask a specific question. What if I marry this person? And then you go to an astrologer, you ask them the question, and they cast a chart for the minute that you ask the question on the basis of the synchronicity of the moment, has the answer, the energy of the answer is in the minute that you ask. So they cast a chart for the exact moment that you ask the question, and they compare it to your birth chart. So the number you've got is the synchronicity of the moment, of that intention. You've just written everything down, and you need to tie that to your birth number. So you probably know, but I'll just explain the birth number then of you. So let's say, for example, you were born on the 3rd of December 1983. So 03 12 1983. So you add up those digits, 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, blah, 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 is 26. Then add up those digits, 2 plus 6 equals 8. Now, in my case, my birth number is 11. So 11 they call a master number. That's what they used to call it. Now they call it an angel number. If it's 11, 22 or 33, you don't reduce it. You keep it at that number. Okay, so then you add the birth number to the number of that script. So 11 plus 3 is 14. And 1 and 4 is 5. So that is the number of my manifestation goals for that 2 weeks. Now, in another 2 weeks, I'll do it again. And I won't write it down again and again because I'm writing it as I go. It's not memorized word for word. So it'll be slightly different. The number will change every 2 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks until the full moon, that number expresses my intention. When I use that number, it expresses the intention without me having to go through and read the whole script or keep the script and it's boring. No. Okay, first, the first thing you do now, you make what I call a flower glyph. So this is the example here. Now, this bottom one for me doesn't count. It's the loops above the bottom one. So that's what makes it like a flower. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the glyph that's got 5 petals, 1 stem, and that counts. That represents the energy of the manifestation script. So what do you do with it? Well, one thing you can do is, or a good thing to do is use it with a night practice. So if you set up your bed so that you can see it when you're about to fall asleep. When you're about to fall asleep, trace it with your finger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and fall asleep thinking of that. Now, it might not be the very, very last thought, but I like to look at it and then turn the light off. So it's the last thing I see. And then I'm falling asleep with the intention it's going to be the first thing I see when I wake up. I wake up in the morning, I get in state of the wish fulfilled. I think of the things I'm trying to manifest, and then I feel that gratitude and excitement. I turn over and then I open my eyes. So it's the first thing I see, and the first thing I do is trace the petals again. So that number, I'm giving that message to my unconscious. Look, that number, that script, it links it. It knows full well what you're expressing that intention. And the fact you're doing it last thing at night, first thing in the morning, you're holding the intention through the night, through when you're unconscious. That can be really powerful. And often you'll wake up with very, very strong intuitions or feelings when you get into this practice. So that's the essence of it. But the other thing you can do is you've got a number, and that number can link into what they call planetary associations. So each number links to a planet, and that's got lots of associations, like a certain color, a certain food, a certain day, a certain time, a certain perfume. And you can just, every time you make a choice based on that number of your intention for the moon cycle, unconsciously you're sending a message. It's like a type of devotion to your manifestation. Now, if your manifestation has much deeper goals, and also to like join good communities, to be compassionate, to make a difference, to be fully awake and enlightened, then it becomes a spiritual practice in the same way that people like pray 6 or 7 times a day facing a certain way, and that's their spiritual life. This can be your spiritual life. So say, for example, now, this is number 5. So number 5 in the association is Mercury, the planet Mercury. So the scent for Mercury can be cedarwood or sage. So maybe you can just get incense for that 2 weeks and light that each morning. And there's various foods, for example, watery foods like cabbage, carrot. You could favor that a little bit with a balanced diet, obviously. The colors of Mercury can be sky blue or green. So you can kind of make a choice just for a second in the morning. You know, what colors, how can I wear a color like that? Or find a gemstone that represents that planet. And it's those little decisions on the unconscious level are constantly expressing that intent. And manifestation is becoming your way of life. Now, at the end of 2 weeks, it's going to be the full moon. You simply do that again, and the number's going to change. So therefore, you're doing it not so much. You're doing it lots. Every time you decide to wear a certain color, or you trace the glyph, or you light that bit of incense, you're expressing the whole manifestation script. But without you having to read the whole thing again, it's really boring. It's not. It's on the unconscious level, and it's fun. It enriches your life with some magic. So that's one way to do that every 2 weeks. I'll give you one more way that I've done it in the past, which is for the more artistic. I made a video to illustrate this, but you don't actually write out the script. You make what I call this like a flower head. You make a spiral, and as you don't write down the script, you speak as though you're writing. You know, I give gratitude for this and that. And every time there's an O, you make an outward spiral going out and out. And every time there's an O, you make a little loop. Okay, so you need to actually speak very slowly and very mindfully. But by the time you finish your manifestation script, you've got this kind of spiral, if it's not too long, with loops. And that is instead of a manifestation script. Now, I've made a video in public with quite a bit of background noise, just to show you how that works using the Shakespearean quote, to be or not to be. And I kind of messed it up a little bit, but you get the idea. So with this, you don't reduce the number. You put it by your bed, and you've got maybe the numbers, say, in this case, it would be, how much was it? It was 26. So if I did it with my script, it would be 26 loops. But you can just trace the spiral when you're falling asleep. The intention is there. Your mind will know what that is. So I would say, when you're falling asleep, start at the outside and trace it in, just noting each leap. You don't say the script again, because that's too hard to remember. Just put your finger in and move around the spiral to the center. Close your eyes, fall asleep. Wake up in the morning, get in the state of the wish fulfilled, get that magical feeling. Make it the first thing you see on waking. Put your finger in the center and trace out to the edge of the spiral. So if you prefer that to writing, that can also be a good way to do it. I'll tell you one more thing I was going to say, and that is that I don't do this now. I've done this scripting, as I say, for all of my life. So for maybe 20 years, I did it, and my method was I'd use quite a small piece of paper. I did it to moon cycle, because I came up with this when I was a teenager. You're linking it to the moon cycles, and every 2 weeks I write it, but I deliberately do it illegibly so no one can see what I'm writing. And then I would go to a beautiful place like where I am in Phnom Penh, there's a pagoda I go to every 2 weeks. But if not, I would go to some beautiful place in nature, and I would kind of leave the thing I've written in some place. And I'm expressing my intention by doing that. And then I came up with this method. to use the numbers, but I still, every 2 weeks, I still now go to a pagoda. I usually write it, keep it in my back pocket. I go and light incense in front of the statues, and then I come out and I leave the script itself in nature, because it's made of wood pulp. It'll biodegrade. And then 2 weeks later, I'm back and I do the same thing. But after 2 or 3 years of doing this with the same basic intention, so I've got the abundance, I've got the details, but then I've got the basic things that don't change, the themes of my manifestation, which have been the same since I was a kid. It's life magic. Yes, I want abundance. So at this point, I want this and this and this in abundance. But it comes down to abundance, that abundant feeling, which is unchanging. And another video based on called goal setting. Look for that. I'll link in the description. So I do that, but then I stopped doing the numbers. One day, I come up with a number, and it was 5. And I thought, okay, so I'll just keep that number because it's half and half. So say, for example, I fall asleep, I trace 5. I do an affirmation 5 times also. Wake up in the morning, get into the state of the wish fulfilled, and I wake up, first thing I see, and 5 and 5. I don't actually count the numbers now, it stays at 5 for me. And that just felt right, that I've got these unchanging themes which I'm manifesting. It's been that way for many, many years. This is a part of my energy, of my consciousness now. And when I die and leave my body, it will go with me into the next world, I'm sure. So because it includes awakening also, spiritual awakening. So it's something I'm carrying with me. It's more than just manifesting like a kid in a toy shop. It's manifesting as a way of life and a spiritual practice of awakening. And for me, minimalism, because that's something that makes me happy, the simplicity of it. So I kept it as 5. So I did it until I felt that I've really, really ingrained these basic unchanging themes over many years. And then I kept it at 5. And the funny thing is, I made this video now just to explain to you how to do it. And look at the number. It happens to be a 5 again. So it's it validates me that, this practice was successful. So that is essentially it. Now, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate not just subscribing, but just leave a comment to say I subscribed, because it's one of my early videos. I'm going to do a batch of 11 and put up them roughly together, or schedule them together. So if you leave a comment, it helps the algorithm to work out who I am, and I'll say hello, and I'll send you good energy if you do this. You can have a lucky day if you say I subscribed in the comments. And try it, see what you think, and think for yourself, because I'm not always right. I'm always Jay. Thanks for watching.